Hello dear students. In today's class we are going to talk about the chemical bonding and molecular structure. So from this unit you can expect 2 to 3 questions in your KCET examination. So let us try to understand some of the basic things regarding chemical bonding and molecular structure. So starting with the chemical bond. So basically you know the definitions. The force of attraction that holds the two constituent, maybe an atom, molecule together, is going to be called as a chemical bonding. So many theories has been given to explain how a chemical bonding, why chemical bonding between the atom will take place. So the basic reasons for chemical bonding is that if you see the element in the periodic table, in our last class we have seen there are group 18 element who are the most stable element in the periodic table. Means that because of an octet structure they are the most stable element in the periodic structure. So they have the 8 electron into the outermost shell, so therefore they are the most stable element into the periodic table. So similarly even the other element in the periodic table will try to gain. Similarly the other element from the periodic table will try to gain the octet structure so that even they can become stable as like the noble gases. So means that to attain the noble gas configuration, one can attain the noble gas configuration by loss of electron, by gain of electron, or by sharing of the electron. So this is the foremost reason that why an atom will prefer a chemical bonding. The second reason is going to be they want to be stable. So an element can get a stability even by attaining a lower energy state. So by the chemical bond even atom can attain the lower energy state, and lower the energy stands for more stability and higher energy stands for the low stability. So roughly we are having 3 types of a bond: the ionic, the covalent, and that of an metallic. So ionic is formed by complete transfer of electron from metal to the non-metal. The covalent is going to be formed by mutual sharing of electron between two basically the non-metal. And about the metallic bonding we will be having in detail when we go for a second year syllabus, that is what a D and F block elements. So Kozel and Lewis were the first scientists to approach how actually a bonding will take place. So they had their focus over the ionic bonding. So if you just take roughly an example of a sodium chloride, that is NaCl. So you have an idea that sodium is an atomic number 11. So if you see the outermost configuration, it is going to be 281. The chlorine has an atomic number 17. So it is going to be 287. Means that sodium can get an octet structure into its last shell provided it lose 1 electron, and chlorine can complete the octet structure provided it will gain 1 electron. So when a sodium loses 1 electron it is going to change to Na plus, and when chlorine will take an electron it will changes into the Cl minus. So now sodium is a cation, Cl is an anion, so oppositely charged ions will be having a force of attraction. So that electrostatic force of attraction between oppositely charged ion is going to be called as the ionic bonding. So this is a rough approach by the Kozel and Lewis to understand how an ionic bonding will take place. Now how many electrons that metal will lose, that depends on how many electrons are required to be lost to complete an octet. So sodium required to lose only 1 electron, so therefore it is going to lose only 1 electron. If you take a magnesium, atomic number 12, there are 2 electrons into the outermost shell, so it is going to lose the 2 electrons. So similarly chlorine need only 1 electron to complete an octet. That is the reason that it will take only 1 electron. If you go for an oxygen, it will take the 2 electron. If you go for a nitrogen, it will take the 3 electron. Means number of electron to be lost, number of electron to be gained, that depends on what is a necessary requirement of an atom to complete the octet by losing or gaining the electron. So that one can understand how many electrons are available into the outermost shell by the Lewis dot structure, or simply we call it as a Lewis symbol. So what a Lewis symbol? It is going to be a very easy manner. The number of valence electron means the number of outermost shell electron represented by the dot. So if you go for the carbon, so the simple electronic configuration of carbon is going to be 1s2, 2s2, 2p2. So the first 2 electron will be there into the K shell, the next 2 plus 2 4 electron will be there into the L shell. So the representation of this outermost shell of electron with respect to dot. So if I take a carbon here, so as you can see that there are the 4 electron. So when you represent these 4 electron around the carbon in terms of a dots, so this representation is called as Lewis symbol or a Lewis dot structure. So how many are there valence electron? Those valence electron will be represented as a dot, hence it is called as Lewis dot structure. So by that Lewis dot structure you will come to know that how many actually valence electrons are available with the respective element. So this is all regarding what we are trying to explain, how a bonding will take place into the NaCl and all. So octet rule stands for that the respective element will try to get an 8 electron into the outermost shell. So I told you that 3 possible ways: by the loss of electron it can complete octet, by the gain of electron it can complete octet, or by sharing of electron. Whenever it is a sharing of electron, it is going to be a covalent bond. So in covalent bond a mutual sharing of electron will take place. So similarly, as we had the loss of electron different for a different element, similarly the sharing will be different for different element. It is like that how many electrons are required to complete an octet, that will decide how many electron to be shared. So if you go for a simple example of an HCl, the HCl also have an covalent. So hydrogen has an 1 electron into the outermost shell, chlorine has a 7 electron into the outermost shell. So means as chlorine has a 7 electron, it needs only an electron to complete an octet. So therefore chlorine is going to share only 1 electron. So therefore between H and Cl there will be a 1 covalent bond. If you go for a carbon, best example is going to be CH4. Carbon has a 4 electron into the outermost shell. Means carbon is going to share 4 electrons, so that other element will give the 4 electrons. So 4 plus 4 is going to be an octet there. So carbon will share its all 4 electron with the 4 hydrogen having each 1 electron. Each hydrogen 1 electron. So you can see that around the carbon there is an octet structure. Similarly, if you talk about an ammonia, NH3, the nitrogen has a 5 electron into the outermost shell, means it required 3 electron to complete an octet. So as it required 3 electron, it is going to share the 3 electrons only. So nitrogen is going to share how many electron? It is going to share 3 electron. So 2 electron will remain unshared. 2 electron is going to remain unshared, and 3 hydrogen, each hydrogen is going to share 1 electron. So therefore around the nitrogen there will be totally 8 electron, and each hydrogen is going to have totally 2 electron. So that complete the helium configuration. That is going to complete the helium configuration. So as you can see that here between hydrogen and the nitrogen 2 electron is going to be shared. So that will be converted in terms of a bond. And the electron which are present in the bond are called as bond pair. The electrons which are present in the bond are called as bond pair. And as you can see here, the 2 electrons as it is there means they are unshared, and the unshared electron pair are going to be called as an lone pair, So means here nitrogen has a single lone pair, whereas carbon had a 4 electron, and all 4 electron has got shared there. Means carbon has a 0 lone pair. Similarly, if you go for an oxygen is going to have a 2 lone pair. A chlorine has shared only 1 electron of 7. Means 6 electrons are as it is. So 6 are divided by 2. Means chlorine has the 3 lone pair there. So you need to understand very properly the lone pair and bond pair, because you will be having one more bonding theory given by the Vesper, that is valence shell electron pair theory. The theory is mostly depending on the presence of an bond pair and the presence of an lone pair. So their structure of a molecule will get decided by the bond pair and the lone pair. So you need to be very perfect with respect to the lone pair and the bond pair. So these are the limitations of an octet rule. Octet rule cannot be an universal in all the cases. No doubt in most of the cases the atom will get the stability because of attaining a 8 electron structure there. Means what, an octet rule it will follow. But it is not a universal concept. There are so many examples where there are going to be less than the octet structure electrons, still the molecule is stable. More than the octet electrons, still molecule is stable. Some are having odd number of electrons, still the molecule is stable. So you need to be very clear with that. Octet cannot be an universal, it has a limitations also. So roughly you have a reading there. These are certain conditions under which the perspective bond is going to be favored. It is not that in all the cases covalent is going to be formed. It is not that in all the cases ionic will be formed. To form a covalent and ionic, again there are certain conditions. We call it as a favorable condition. So if you talk about ionic bond, the low ionization energy of metal should be there. If a metal has high ionization energy, then metal will not show an interest to lose an electron. If there is no loss of electron, there is no cation formation. If no cation formation, it cannot have intense anion formation there. The high electron affinity of the non-metal means it is not that only metal is interested to lose the electron. At the same time, even non-metal should be interested to gain the electron. And how much higher affinity it will have, that much easily it can take the electron. The high value of lattice energy, the lattice energy should be higher, and the large radius of cation and small radius of the anions. So similarly, we got a condition that will favor a covalent bond. So combining atoms should have small electronegativity difference. If both atoms are having a small difference in the electronegativity, then they will remain with only one option, that is they need to share the electron. If the electronegativity difference is maximum, then one is going to lose, other is going to share. That will become an ionic, whereas your covalent means what? A mutual sharing. A mutual sharing will take place only when both are not interested either to gain the electron, neither to lose the electron, then they will go for sharing of electron. Then high electron density of the combining atom, electron density should be higher. Then small atomic size or atomic radius of the combining atom. High ionization energy, that is most important. If the ionization energy is higher, loss of electron is difficult, then sharing of electron will take place. And combining atomic orbital should have unpaired electron with the opposite spin. If it having an unpaired electron with an opposite spin, then overlapping, you are going to talk about overlapping will take place easily, and by the overlapping the covalent bond is going to be formed easily. So these are certain bond parameter. Bond parameter means what? These are the things associated with the covalent bond we are going to talk about. So we are having a bond length, bond angle, bond enthalpy or bond energy, and the bond order. So if we start with the bond length, each covalent bond has a fixed length, and that length of a bond is decided by what are the atoms who are forming a bond, what are the electronegativities of that atom, so with respect to that, and the hybridization. So if you see that size of an atom, if you are forming a bond between two small size atoms, then definitely a bond length is going to be shorter, and if you are forming a bond between two large size atoms, then bond length is going to be bigger. So the first aspect that will decide the bond length is going to be size of atom. Basically small size atom is going to form a short bond, and large size atom is going to form a long bond. Second, multiple bond. So it is equally decided that if you have an atom having one bond, and if you have an atom having two, it may be a three also. As the number of bond between the atom increases, the electron on the nucleus of opposite atom will tries to go closer and closer. Will try to go closer and closer, and as they come closer and closer, the length of a bond decreases. So this is what carbon-carbon single bond is longer, carbon-carbon double bond is shorter, and carbon-carbon triple bond is still shorter. As the number of bond between the atom increases, bond length is going to decreases. And next is going to be an hybridization. So basically we will be having sp3, sp2 and the sp hybridization. sp hybridization has a more electronegativity. So this is going to be carbon only. This is going to be an carbon only. But maximum electronegativity, shorter will be a bond. Minimum electronegativity, longer will be the bond. So on these three parameters, the length of a bond is going to be decided. Then we are having a bond angle, bond order and bond enthalpy or energy. You can relate here bond order means what? This is the number of bond between the atom. This is what? The number of bond between the two atoms. So hydrogen always form a one bond. So bond order in H2 molecule is 1. Oxygen always form a 2 bond with the normal condition. Then bond order is going to be 2 there. Nitrogen forms a 3 bond. So with the normal condition again. Then bond order in nitrogen is going to be 3. So the number of bond present between the atom is called as bond order. So hydrogen has 1, oxygen has 2 and the nitrogen has the 3. The angle we will be trying to understand with respect to structure. The bond enthalpy or bond energy. The amount of energy required to break 1 mole of a covalent bond. The amount of energy required to break 1 mole of a covalent bond is called as bond enthalpy or bond energy. Now this is again decided by the bond length. If you have a long bond, then it is going to be weak, and if you have a short bond, then it is going to be strong. So longer can be very easily broken, whereas shorter is going to be difficult. So as a bond length decreases, bond enthalpy or bond energy is going to increases. They are vice versa. As the length of a bond decreases, bond energy is going to increases, or as the length of bond increases, bond energy is going to decrease. So these are the factors that will affect the bond enthalpy. So first bond length, next multiple bond. So multiple bond we have related with the bond length there. Then a number of lone pair between the electrons. In some cases you will be having an atom with a lone pair also. The number of bond will be same, but they are going to have a lone pair. As example fluorine, it has a through lone pair. So lone pair repulsions will take place. So because of that, the effect over a bond is going to be equally decided by the lone pair also. Next we got a polarity of a bond. A polarity is decided by the dipole moment. If a molecule has the permanent dipole moment, then it is going to be called as a polar. And if a molecule has the zero dipole moment, then it is going to be called as non-polar. And a dipole moment is a vector quantity, means direction is going to be equally important. To be a polar, the molecule should have non-equal to zero dipole moment, and to be a non-polar, it is going to have 0 d by dipole moment. If you have a carbon dioxide, the structure of a CO2, it's a linear. So between carbon and oxygen, as oxygen is more electronegative, the dipole is going to point toward the oxygen. Similarly for this bond, it is going to be point on the other side. So as you are having an dipoles equal in opposite direction, as you are having a dipoles in equal and opposite direction, so because of which what happens, the net dipole moment is going to be 0 d by, because how much of dipole has been created by one CO bond, the same dipole has been created by the other CO bond, but as their directions are equal and opposite, because of which the net dipole moment is going to be 0, because their directions are going to get cancelled there. So if any molecule which has a zero dipole moment, are called as non-polar. So all homodiatomic, homo stands for same, di stands for two, all homodiatomic are what? Non-polar. And if you have a heterodiatomic or a triatomic molecule with a linear structure, or we may say that the symmetrical structure, in which the dipole of one bond can be cancelled by the dipole of the other bond, even those molecule can be a non-polar in the nature. And to be a polar, the other example expecting these conditions of a non-polar, all are going to be an polar. For example, water is a polar, HF is a polar, NH3 is polar. The polarity is going to be again decided by the electronegativity of an atom and the length of an atom, because mu will be given by mu is equal to Q into D. The mu dipole moment is equal to Q stands for a charge and D stands for a distance. An atom having a more charge will automatically having a more mu, so means its dipole moment is going to be maximum. So if you just compare between water and ammonia, the ammonia, so in cases the central atom is nitrogen, here it is an oxygen. So as oxygen is more electronegativity, its Q is going to be larger quantity, then definitely it is going to have the more dipole moment. So it is going to be more polar than that of an ammonia. So this is what we can explain a comparison between NH3 and NF3. So if you roughly see the structures, the NF3 and NH3, You can get it directly because in case of an NH3, the nitrogen-hydrogen dipole and the dipole of a lone pair are in the equal direction, so that will be get added up. Whereas in the NF3 they are opposite in the direction. So as they are opposite in the direction, the lone pair dipole is going to get subtracted from the bond dipole, and NF3 is going to have a less there. So this is what a Fajans rule. So all covalent bonds are not going to be 100% covalent, and all ionic bonds are not going to be 100% ionic. So certain percentage of ionic character will be there in the covalent bond, and certain percentage of covalent character will be there into the ionic bond. So that can be explained by using a Fajans rule. So according to the Fajans, small size of a cation and large size of an anion is going to favor greater covalent character in the ionic bond, whereas greater charge of a cation and greater is the covalent character in the ion. Means the ionic character in the covalent bond and the covalent character in the ionic bond will be governed by the Fajans rule. Now talking about a very important covalent bonding. So covalent bond is going to be formed by the overlapping of the atomic orbital. Now there are two types of overlapping. Overlapping will take place along the axis or sideways. So on that basis, two are there, a sigma and the pi. If you have an overlapping along the axis, then such overlapping is going to result into the sigma. And if you have the overlapping sideways, it is going to have the pi. So sigma is going to have maximum overlapping, so always it is stronger bond. Pi is going to have minimum overlapping, so it is a weaker bond. A sigma overlapping can be an SS, it can be an SP, as well as it can be an PP, whereas the pi can be formed by only PP orbital. Sigma may present alone or with the pi bond, whereas pi bond will always present with the sigma bond. As sigma will come first, it will decide the geometry, whereas pi is going to not decide the geometry of the molecule. Sigma is going to be stronger because more overlapping, it is going to be weaker because less overlapping there. So this is regarding an hybridization. The mixing of a different atomic orbital following the condition is going to result into the hybridization. So we got sp, sp2, sp3, dsp2, dsp3, d2, sp3 or sp3, d2 is also there. Each is going to have the respective geometry or the structure. sp is going to be linear, sp2 trigonal planar, sp3 is going to be tetrahedral, with the lone pair it may be pyramidal, dsp2 is going to be square planar, dsp3 is going to be trigonal bipyramidal, and d2 sp3 or sp3 d2 is going to have octahedral geometry. Now this is most important to talk about a bonding. So the structure of a molecule was given by the hybridization will be same provided all the conditions of a hybridization is followed by the structure. And in some cases, though there is an hybridization according to the what it has been given, structure do not matches with the normal structure, because if you just take an water as a molecule, the hybridization of oxygen in the water molecule is going to be an sp3. So as the hybridization is sp3, the structure should be an tetrahedral. The structure should be an tetrahedral, and the bond angle should be 109 degree 28 minute. 109 degree 28 minute. But the actual angle and the structure is going to be something different, because oxygen in an water has a lone pair. Similarly for the ammonia also, even it has a sp3 hybridization, whereas the angle is what? Different one. So basically the role of a, so these are what the cases. So water has an angle 104.5 degree, whereas ammonia has 107. So this is because of the repulsion of lone pair and bond pair, and also the lone pair. So VSPR, that is VSEPR, is going to play a more important role provided the VSEPR theory is going to have more important role provided it has the lone pair with the central atom. If the central atom don't have a lone pair, then there won't be a maximum change into the structure. So whenever you are solving any molecule with respect to VSEPR theory, try to understand whether the molecule containing a central atom has the lone pair or not. If it has a lone pair, then definitely VSEPR has a role there. If for example methane CH4, The carbon has only 4 electrons into the valence structure. All 4 got shared there with an hydrogen. So carbon don't have a valence electron there as an alone pair. The structure of a molecule is going to be structure given by the hybridization. So try to understand whether the molecule has a central atom with the lone pair or not. If it is there, then automatically it will follow the Vesper. If you don't have a lone pair, then don't go with the Vesper. You just answer by using hybridization concept. So this is what about water we will explaining. Next, MOT theory. MOT theory is going to talk about much about the bond order and the stability with respect to their molecular electronic configuration. So we'll be having more focus over the MOT theory, because in most of the question paper it has been seen that there are at least one or the other questions on the MOT theory based. There is one or the other question based on the MOT theory. So this is roughly a diagram for MOT theory, that is molecular energy level diagram for an oxygen molecule. So we will be having a molecular orbital as sigma 1s, then it is going to be sigma star 1s, sigma 2s, sigma star 2s, then we are going to have pi 2px, pi 2py, sigma 2pz, pi star 2px, pi star 2py, and sigma star 2pz. This is up to nitrogen. And we will be having one more electronic configuration, that is after nitrogen, means starting onward oxygen, where sigma 1s, sigma star 1s, sigma 2s, sigma star 2s will remain same. A small change into the energy level of these orbital will take place, and first it is going to be sigma 2pz, then pi 2px, pi 2py, and the rest of the things are going to be same there. Pi star 2py and the sigma star 2pz. Means try to focus. If you are solving any molecule based on the MOT theory, after oxygen, that is after nitrogen, that is oxygen onward, it is going to have a symmetrical nature there. It is going to have a symmetrical nature. Means if you cleave exactly from the center, then you will be having the mirror image identical with the star. So pi y, pi 2px, pi 2py, and pi star 2px, pi star 2py, sigma 2pz, sigma star 2pz. Whereas these are going to be same there, sigma 1s, sigma star 1s, sigma 2s, sigma star 2s. So these are what the two electronic configuration changes there. One up to the nitrogen, first pi 2px, pi 2py will come, and then it is going to be sigma 2pz. Whereas after nitrogen, that is oxygen onward, first sigma 2pz will come, and then pi 2px, pi 2py. The rest of the things later as well as before are going to be same. Only the changes are taking place here. So this is most important, because on the electronic configurations only we are going to talk about the bond order. You will be explaining even the stability as well as the electronic configuration. So we will be having some example, the neutral example along with the charged example, because in most of the time one definite question will be there on the basis of MOT theory. Thoda pause karo. So let us try to solve some of the MCQs based on what chemical bonding and the molecular structure, a theory part we have studied. So the first question we are having here, which of the following is diamagnetic? So let me tell you what are diamagnetic and paramagnetic. Any molecule which has the unpaired electron, that is what a single electron, is going to be para in the nature. Whereas if it all orbitals are having two electron, that is called as a paired electron, is going to be diamagnetic. So the question is diamagnetic. So question is going to be a diamagnetic. So if you just take a hydrogen, so it's what H2 plus. A plus indicate that you are supposed to remove one electron. So H2 plus means what? It's an hydrogen and the H plus. So H and H plus will make a H2 plus. So electronic configuration of hydrogen is what? 1s1. Whereas H plus means what? You have removed one electron there. Then it is going to be 1s0. Then what will be the total number of electron into the MOT? It's going to be 1. Just if you go by the diagram, it is 1s. This is also 1s. Then you are going to have a sigma 1s, and it is going to be a sigma star 1s. So there is one electron into the one of the 1s orbital, other is not having electron, so same electron will come here. So this electron is single, means it's a para in the nature. Means what? It's a paramagnetic in the nature. What about He plus? He plus is also He plus. How will you make it He plus? Hg2 plus. So it is going to be He plus He plus. So the helium configuration is 1s2. Now plus means you need to remove one electron. So it is going to be 1s1. So what will be the total number of electron? 3. So it is going to make an odd there. So 2 will be into the lower energy level, 1 will be into the higher energy level, means this is also para. And oxygen, by the theory we know that O2 has a 2 unpaired electron. Then oxygen is going to be para. So what about nitrogen? Then if 3 are para, then definitely nitrogen is going to be di, because how you are going to get an N2? It is going to be N and N. So what are the number of electrons? 7 plus 7 electron. So this is going to be 14 electron. Now what is electronic configuration up to nitrogen? This is going to be this. So if you go on filling 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So all will be having a 2 electron, means there won't be an orbital having a single electron. So therefore nitrogen will become an dimagnetic, whereas all other examples are paramagnetic. So para is decided by the unpaired electron, whether it is single or more than single, that do not make any differences. If it is an unpaired, definitely it is going to be para. If it is having an unpaired electron, it is going to be di. The intramolecular hydrogen bonding is present in. See, hydrogen bonding there are two types. The intermolecular and the intramolecular. Inter means between two atoms. What is intermolecular? Between two atoms is inter. And within the molecule is intra. The question is intra. So if you take a water, basically, let me give you a hint. Small molecule will always form inter. Small molecule will always form inter, whereas large molecule is going to form an intra. So water is what? A smaller molecule. So if you just see the structure of water, it is going to be like this. So you can have your hydrogen bonding between two water molecule. So as it is between two water molecule, it is inter. It is going to be an inter. Second is an ammonia. Even ammonia is a small molecule. Even ammonia is also a small molecule. So even ammonia is going to have hydrogen bonding between two molecules. So this is also an inter. What about salicylaldehyde? So this is a structure of. Having a structure is most important here. Otherwise, what will happen? You will be knowing a concept inter as well as intra. But if you don't know the structure, you are unable to answer either it as intra or inter. So it's a salicylaldehyde. Aldehyde means the functional group is going to be CHO. Salicyl, the OH and the ortho position. So here oxygen and the hydrogen is going to have that. So you can see here there is an hydrogen bonding in the same molecule. So if it is within the molecule, then it is going to be called as an intra. So the answer is going to be salicylaldehyde. Similarly, if you just to talk about benzophenone, benzophenone is going to have this structure. So benzophenone has no possibility to form an hydrogen bonding. So therefore benzophenone is out of the way. Similarly, you will get a question, which of the following molecule don't have an hydrogen bonding? Now hydrogen bonding, see, whether it is inter or intra, these are the type of hydrogen bonding. Whether it is inter or intra, these are the type of an hydrogen bonding. No doubt they are different, but they are still hydrogen bonding. But benzophenone don't have an hydrogen bonding. So do remember the condition for hydrogen bonding. First and foremost, the hydrogen must be there. And to what atom that hydrogen should be connected? Either it should be connected to fluorine or nitrogen or oxygen. In normal way, hydrogen connected to fluorine and nitrogen and oxygen can definitely form a hydrogen bonding. So if you don't have an hydrogen connected to either of these atoms, then you need to think whether the hydrogen bonding is possible there or not. If it is not possible, definitely it is not going to be an answer. Which of the following molecule exist? So you need to see that which of the following molecule is going to exist there. So even the existence of a molecule can be answered by a MOT theory. If a molecule has the bond order 0, if a molecule has bond order 0, then we say that such molecule does not exist. Then if you go for an helium, so the electronic configuration of helium is going to be, helium has 4 electrons, because one helium has a 2, so 2 electrons are going to have 4 there. So how will you feel the electronic configuration? It is going to be sigma 1s2 sigma star 1s2. How do we calculate a bond order? Bond order is equal to number of electron in a bonding molecular orbital, that is a BMO, minus of number of electron in an antibonding, star represented antibonding, that is ABMO, antibonding molecular orbital, whole divided by 2. So for a helium molecule, how many are there in the bonding? 2 minus how many are there in the, star stands for an antibonding, so 2 divided by 2. So 2 minus 2 is going to be 0, upon 2 is going to be 0. So bond order is 0 means it does not exist. Similarly beryllium. A beryllium, what is electronic configuration? So first hydrogen, then helium, then a lithium, then you will be having a beryllium, means it is going to have sigma, so beryllium, so each is going to have 4 electron, so totally there will be an 8 electron. So what will be the electronic configuration? Sigma 1s2 sigma star 1s2, sigma 2s2 sigma star 2s2, 2 4 6 8. So the bond order, bonding 2, and this is also bonding, so 4, antibonding 2 minus 4 divided by 2, it is going to be again 0, because 4 minus 4 is going to be 0, divided by 2 0. So even helium has a 0, beryllium has a 0, and neon also. Directly why we are jumping? Because neon is a noble gas. Noble gas has got S2p6 configuration, so there are 8 electrons. So it is going to get a bond order 0 only there. So therefore as a bond order is 0, even neon does not exist. There is no homodiatomic molecule from the noble gas configuration. Do remember, He2, Ne2, Xe2 Fe are going to be non-existing. So the answer is going to be the C2 there, because C2 has a 2 bond order there. Now this is what the overlapping orbital in benzene of the type. The overlapping orbital in a benzene of the type. So what orbital are going to overlap in the benzene, that we need to answer. So if you see the benzene's structure, the carbon in a benzene is going to be sp2 hybridized. The reason is that it has, if I take one of the carbon atom in the benzene there, then it has one bond with an hydrogen, one with the one carbon, other with the other carbon, and there is one pi bond. So whenever an atom has one pi bond, then it is going to be sp2 hybridized. 2 pi bond, it is sp hybridized, and 0 pi bond, then it is going to be sp3 hybridized. So as there is one pi bond, it is going to be sp2. So means both carbon are going to be sp2. So option number 1 will be an right answer there. Then molecular orbital having a lowest energy. If you see the molecular orbital energy level diagram with respect to electronic configuration, pi star 2pz, sigma star 2pz, see pi star 2pz, sigma star 2pz. So it is going to be pi star 2px. So pi star 2px, sigma star 2pz, sigma 2s is here, and sigma 2px, sigma 2px. So this is going to be z, sigma 2pz. So means the lower is going to be sigma 2s, because sigma 2s will come first, then these are going to be higher energy level. This is what increasing energy level order. The anti-bonding in that side are going to have higher energy, and here it is going to have the lower energy. Then we are having what is a bond order of O2 minus 2 ion. O2 minus 2 ion. So to answer this O2 minus 2 ion, you should know the electronic configuration of a oxygen molecule. So I have written here electronic configuration after nitrogen, means what oxygen is going to come into the category. Then O2 minus it is, O2 minus 2 it is. So you just forget about these two, will get automatically cancelled, because 1s2 sigma star 1s2 2 to 0, sigma 2s2 sigma star 2s2 2 to 0. Now we need to talk about this. So 2 minus 2 means what? It is going to see oxygen already has 8 electron. So 8, 8, 16 is going to be there. Now minus 2 means you have added 2 more. So it is going to be totally now 18 electron. Out of 18 electron, they have taken 4 and they have taken a 4 there. So 4, 4 is going to be what? 8 electrons. So how many are going to remain with the 10 electron there? We are pending with the 10 electron. So then substitute 2 here, 2 here, 2. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Means it is going to be 6 minus 4 divided by 2. It is going to be 2 upon 2. This is going to be 1 there. This is going to be 1. Because totally how many electrons should be there? 18. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. So if you just go for 2 will be here, 4, then 6, 8, 10, this is 2, 12, this is 2, 14, 15, 16, the 15, 16, 17, 18. So in the star, these are 2 star orbital antibonding, 4 electron, they are without star, so therefore they are bonding, so 6 electrons. So 6 minus 4 upon 2, 6 minus 4 is going to be 2, 2 upon 2 is going to be 1. So bond order is going to be 1. If you just change O2 minus to O2 minus, then you are supposed to decrease 1 electron. Then you are going to remove 1 electron from pi star to pz. Then it is going to change into 3 there. So this will become a 3, then it is going to be 1 point. If you are making an just O2 there, then you will be removing 1 more electron, then only 2 will remain there. Then this is going to be 4 upon 2, then this is going to be 2. So this is how, by just knowing the outer electronic configuration, the inner electronic configuration is not that much important. Outer is most important. If you just get an outer configuration, then you can easily answer for its bond order. You can answer for its bond order. One more, stability can be also decided. How will we decide the stability? You just count any molecular orbital having a BMO, that is bonding molecular orbital. If a BMO has more number of electron, if a bonding molecular orbital has more number of electron, then it is going to be more stable. If a bonding has a less number of electron, then it is going to be less stable. The shape of XeF6. So the shape is going to be decided by hybridization and VSEPR. Hybridization decides the shape alone if there is no lone pair. And if there is a lone pair, then definitely you need to take an help of VSEPR theory also. So XeF6. So here central atom is Xe. And as Xe belongs to the noble gas, its outer configuration is S2P6. Its outer configuration is S2P6 because it's a noble gas. So then what will happen? How many fluorine you are supposed to there? 6 should be there. Each fluorine form 1 bond. So 6 unpaired electrons should be there. Then you go for promoting. So S2, then it is going to be P6. Out of P6, 3 electron get excited. And it is going to become a D3. So S2, 2 are going to be as it is. P will be 3 there with 1 electron. And D totally 5. Out of 5, 3 are going to have 1 electron. Then the hybridization will be sp3 d3. S is 1 orbital, p are 3 there as well as d are 3 there. But here the case is that the s orbital has 1 lone pair. The s orbital has 1 lone pair because it has a 2 electron, means it has 1 lone pair. And if you see the configuration with the lone pair, it is going to square planar, square pyramidal, pyramidal and distorted octahedral. So how many total bonds are there? 6 are there. Whenever you have a 6 total bond, square planar stands for 4 square, a pyramidal stands for a 3, square pyramidal square and the pyramid, it is going to stands for a 4, and distorted octahedral. Octahedral is going to be 6 there. Don't get confused with octa with the number. Octa with the number will be different and octa geometry will be different. So octahedral 6. Why it is called distorted? The reason, as s orbital is having a 2 electron, because of which that lone pair disturb the geometry, and because of that octahedral will not remain exact octahedral, so it is disturbed. So therefore it is called as a distorted octahedral. Now one more we are having on the MOT theory, the increasing bond order The increasing bond order of the means you need to arrange the increasing order there. You need to arrange the increasing order there. So to arrange an increasing order, the first should be the lowest one and last is going to be an highest one. So if you go for O2 there, we are having O2 plus, O2 minus and O2 minus. So for O2 just now O2 has totally 8 plus 8 is going to 16. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 and this is going to have 1 electron means totally it is going to be 2. So it is going to be 6 minus 2 divided by 2. So 6 minus 2, 4 divided by 2 it is going to be 2. Now plus means you need to remove 1 electron from the antibonding. So 6 minus 1 divided by 2 it is going to be 5 upon 2. So 5 upon 2 is going to be 2.5. O2 minus you are adding 1 electron into the antibonding. So 6 minus normal is 2. 1 you are adding 3. So 2. So it is going to be 3 upon 2. It is going to be 1.5. 2 minus means you are adding 2 into the antibonding. So 2 to 4 it is going to be divided by 2. So 6 minus 4 is going to be 2 divided by 2. So it is going to be 1. So 2, 2.5, 1.5 and 1. So the highest one is what? 2.5. So O2 plus, the last one is going to be, these two are O2 minus means they cannot be an answer. This is O2, this cannot be an O2 plus, so this is going to be. After O2 plus, it should be an O2 minus. After O2 plus, it should be actually O2. So after O2 plus, it's an O2. Then you are having O2 minus, then you are having O2 minus 2. Similarly, you can see here, stability can be also predicted. This has 6 bonding, 2 antibonding, 6 bonding, 1 antibonding, 6 bonding, 3 antibonding, 6 bonding, 4 antibonding. So minimum number of antibonding are in case of an O2 plus. So this is going to be more stable if you are talking in terms of a stability. If you are talking in terms of a stability. Then we are having which of the following compound of a xenon has pyramidal geometry. The pyramidal geometry. See, to talk about a pyramidal geometry, there should be 3 bounded atoms. Only 3 bounded atoms can form a pyramid. So here it's an oxygen and fluorine. So these are what 5 atoms. Only 2 atoms. These are 4 atoms. And here it is. So even if you go directly there, the 3 atoms is going to form a pyramid there. The 3 atoms, because oxygen has the double bond. So therefore it is going to form a pyramid with one lone. With one lone pair. So using MOT compare O2 plus and O2 minus species and choose the incorrect option. So we need to find an incorrect option. So option number 1, O2 plus has the highest bond order than O2 minus. So we are having here O2 plus and O2 minus. Sure, O2 plus has 2.5, O2 minus has 1.5. So this is the right answer, means this is the nulled by option. O2 minus is less stable. O2 minus is less stable. Even this is also true, because O2 plus has 1 antibonding, O2 minus has 3 antibonding. Lower antibonding means more stable, so O2 minus is going to be less stable. Then O2 plus is diamagnetic, whereas O2 minus is paramagnetic. So here there is 1 electron in antibonding, definitely that will be an unpaired, so it should be an paramagnetic. But the given question, the given option has O2 plus and diamagnetic. So this is an incorrect. This is an incorrect. And both are paramagnetic, because this is 1 electron, so para only. 3 electron means 2, 1 it is going to be, so therefore it is going to be an para. So both are para, so answer is going to be C. Which of the following pair? Both the species are not like to exist. Means both will not exist. Both will not exist means what? Roughly we get an idea. Helium, I told you into the last questions also, noble gases do not exist as a molecule. So it says He2. He2 means what? 2 bonding, 2 antibonding divided by 2. So it is going to be 0. Even He2 plus. So H2 plus 2 plus means what? Hydrogen has 1 electron. So both electrons have been lost. So it is going to be 0 minus 0 divided by 0. So therefore they are not going to exist there. So arrange the following ions in the increasing order of stability. So I told you stability will be decided by the number of electron into the bonding and the antibonding. So if it has a less number of electron into the antibonding or more number of electron into the bonding, then it is going to be more stable. So we are having Li2 minus and the Li2 plus. So the lithium is going to be hydrogen, helium, then it is going to be a lithium atomic number 3. So 3 in the bonding, 3 in the antibonding, so it is going to what? If you see the electronic configuration, 1s2 sigma star 1s2 and this is going to be sigma 2s2. 6 electrons should be there totally. So 2 sigma 1s2, sigma star 1s2 and this is going to be sigma 2s2. So means bonding are these two bonding. So 4 minus 2 divided by 2, it is going to be 4 minus 2, 1. So Li2 minus means you are adding 1 electron. So after sigma 2s2 there will be sigma star. So sigma 1s2, sigma star 1s2, sigma 2s2, sigma star 2s1 because you are adding 1 electron. Then bonding and anti-bonding are 3. So 4 minus 3 divided by 2, it is going to be 1 by 2. Plus means you are removing 1 electron. So sigma 1s2, sigma star 1s2, sigma 2s1 you are supposed to remove. So bonding are going to be 3, anti-bonding is going to be 1. So it is going to be 2 upon 2, so it is going to be 1. So if you just see the bonding and anti-bonding electron, then you will come to know that there are more bonding in the case of Li2. So Li2 should be the most stable and the order we are supposed to make for increasing means most stable should be at the last. So here last is Li2 plus, this won't be an answer. Here last is going to be Li2, here last is going to be Li2 plus, this won't be an answer. Here last is going to be Li2. So out of these two we will be having one as an answer. So here it is 4 minus 3, here it is 3 minus, so Li2 plus. So after Li2 plus is going to be more stable. So B will be an right answer there. Then similarly the structure of IF7. I am supposed to go for a structure of IF7. So IF7, the central atom here it's an iodine. In IF7, then central atom is an iodine which is a halogen family member and electronic configuration is going to be P5. S2 P5 will be the electronic configuration of halogen family member. So then what will be its structure? Means there are 2 electrons into the s orbital and 5 are there into the p. Then the structure, then total number of bond we need is 7 because it is F7 means total number of unpaired electrons should be 7. So at present there is only 1 unpaired electron means you need to make an excitation of all the 3 paired. So yes, then it is going to be P, then we will be having a D there. So then it is going to be 1, this will be single, 3. So up to here there were electron, now 3 you are making on promotions. Then it is going to be 1, 3, 3. So it is going to be this what? Yes, P3, D3. So the electronic configuration is going to be sp3, D3. So sp3, D3 means what it is going to be? Total number of 1 plus 3 is going to be 4. 4 plus 3 is going to be 7. So this is going to be an pentagonal. This is going to be an pentagonal. This 5 orbital in the plane forming a pentagon. One will be upward, one will be downward. So it is going to be pentagonal bipyramidal. This is going to be pentagonal bipyramidal. Now the next question we are having here is, which of the following molecule, which of the following hydrogen bond is going to be strongest? Means what? They have given all the 4 molecules with the hydrogen bonding only and one with a stronger hydrogen bonding you are supposed to answer. So if you see the strongest hydrogen bonding, it is going to be based on the electronegativity. You got a fluorine, oxygen and the nitrogen. These are the 3 atoms who are going to decide the hydrogen bonding. And out of which fluorine is what? Somewhat most strongest electronegative element. So wherever there is an FH F, OHF, that is OHO and OHN. So here on the both the side there is one fluorine, means what? One fluorine is going to take maximum electron density from the hydrogen, it is going to make most efficient, and other is going to form equally force of attraction. So the A is going to be right answer there, having the strongest hydrogen bonding. The next bond angle 109 degree 28 minute. So if you want to answer for a bond angle 109 degree 28 minute, so by the angle I get roughly idea that it is an sp3 hybridization, because sp3 hybridization only has a bond angle 109 degree 28 minute. No doubt that ammonia has an sp3 hybridization, even water is also having sp3 hybridization, but as they have a one lone pair in case of an ammonia and the two lone pair in case of an water, according to the VSEPR theory, there will be a lone pair repulsion. The angle gets changes from 109 degree 28 minute to 107 degree and 104.5 degree. Then two things are remained with. Either it is going to be CH3 plus or it is going to be NH4 plus. But you can see that it's an sp3. As you can see that it's a sp3, means that there should be 4 bond. Roughly there should be 4 bond if you just avoid the lone pair concept. Then CHO3 has only 3 bond and CH3 plus has only 3 bond, NH4 plus is an 4 bond. So nitrogen will have the loss of that lone pair to form a bond. Then how many bond it is going to have? It is going to have the 4 bond, and as it is going to have 4 bond, now the lone pair is not there. And as there is no lone pair, then what hybridization it is going to possess? sp3, and there won't be repulsion also. The reason is that lone pair has been lost to form a 4th bond there. So as there is no lone pair, it is going to not have change into, it is not going to have the change into angle, and angle will remain 109 degree 28 minute only. The angle is going to remain 109 degree 28 minute. So these are what the number of questions which were possible for us to solve from this respective unit. There are many questions which are going to get from the unit. We will be sending you some of the questions also for your self practice, and even you can go through some of the other books also, so that maximum number of questions you can collect. I have tried my level best to cover almost all areas of this unit. Still, on the bonding you should have more focus. Maybe a bonding given by hybridization, maybe bonding given by the MOT theory as well as Vesper theory, because these are the area where mostly one question is going to be very short one. So in the next class, I will be taking the 2 first unit of organic chemistry of the first year. So we got a basic techniques and the hydrocarbon. So both are related to one another. So both the unit will be taken by me at the same time and in the same video we are going to talk about. So you just till I post the next video, you have the reading of that both the unit of organic chemistry also. So for then, it's a goodbye. I'm an icon, man. I'm a girl about a 10. I should fuck her in a Benz.